Today we're comparing fractions to determine which one is greater than, less than, or equal to. To start off, let's review fractions. 2/6 is an example of a fraction. 2 is called the numerator, and 6 is called the denominator. We can draw a picture to represent the fraction as well. To start, let's draw a rectangle. The denominator tells us how many parts are in the whole object, or in this case, in the whole rectangle. Because the denominator is 6, we will partition the rectangle into 6 equal parts. And the numerator tells us how many parts to shade. We will shade 2 parts. Now the picture represents 2 parts out of 6. So we say the shaded region represents 2/6. Let's use this information to compare a couple fractions. Here are 2 fractions, 3/8 and 2/3. We want to determine what sign to put between them to make a correct mathematical sentence. Let's draw models to represent each fraction. Begin by drawing 2 rectangles of the same size and shape. The first rectangle will represent 3/8 by dividing the rectangle into 8 equal parts and then shading 3 of those parts. The second rectangle will represent 2/3. Divide this into 3 equal parts and shade 2 of the 3 parts. Which model has a greater shaded region? That's right. 2/3 has a greater shaded region than the shaded region for 3/8. This means that 2/3 is greater than 3/8, or 3/8 is less than 2/3. So we put a less than symbol in the blank. Just in case you forget which direction the symbol faces, always have the open part towards the larger number. In this case, the symbol opens towards 2/3, since we know 2/3 is greater than 3/8. Let's try another problem, and let's compare 4/8 to 3/6. This time, let's write both fractions with a common denominator instead of drawing models. First, we need to determine the least common denominator, or LCD. The LCD is the lowest possible multiple of the 2 denominators, 8 and 6. Multiples of 8 are 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32, and so on. And the multiples of 6 are 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, 6 times 4 is 24, and so on. Aha! Do you see that 24 is the lowest common multiple of 8 and 6? So we will use 24 as our common denominator to write equivalent fractions. Now let's write 4/8 as a fraction with 24 in the denominator. What number times 8 is 24? That's right, 3. So we multiply both the numerator and denominator by 3 to get an equivalent fraction. 4 times 3 is 12, and we already know 8 times 3 is 24. So we just found that 4/8 is equivalent to 12/24. Now let's write 3/6 as an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 24. What number times 6 is 24? That's right, 4. So we multiply both the numerator and denominator by 4 to get an equivalent fraction. 3 times 4 is 12, and we already know 6 times 4 is 24. So we just found that 3/6 is equivalent to 12/24. Now let's compare the equivalent fractions. Which symbol do we use? Greater than, less than, or equal to? 12/24 and 12/24 are equal to each other. This means that 4/8 and 3/6 are equal to each other too. Nice job. Let's compare these two fractions, 4/6 and 2/3. Let's determine if 4/6 is greater than, less than, or equal to 2/3. We can begin by finding the least common denominator, or LCD, for 6 and 3 by listing some of their multiples like we did before. Some multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, and so on. Multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, and so on. Looking at this list, what number is the least common multiple of 6 and 3? That's right, 6. Now we know the least common denominator to use, but wait, 4/6 already has a denominator of 6. That's great. We don't have to touch this fraction, but we do need to change 2/3 into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 6. What number times 3 is 6? That's right, it's 2. So we'll multiply both the numerator and denominator by 2 to get an equivalent fraction. 2 times 2 is 4, and we already know 3 times 2 is 6. This means 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6. How do these equivalent fractions compare? That's right, 4/6 is equal to 4/6. That means 4/6 is also equal to 2/3. Great job comparing fractions.